Election season is right around the corner. If we've learned anything from the last presidential election, it's that the topic of election security will be at the forefront. I'm now joined by Jason Ingalls. You own a company called Ingalls Information Security. You're here to talk about a pattern that you noticed with the 2020 election that's getting some national attention. First, tell us about your company and what you do.
Sure, and thank you for having me. We are a cybersecurity services provider, so we work with IT companies and we work with other companies that need our services to understand what their risk is and then do something about it.
So tell me what you've noticed with the 2020 election.
So we saw a pattern where local election authorities don't have the kind of funding across the country that even local election authorities in Louisiana do. And those local election authorities are often challenged to have enough cybersecurity risk management. And with the threat of ransomware that exists today, what we're worried about is that local election authorities could be impacted during the election this year.
What can you do to stop that? What do you recommend?
Well, first of all, we recommend that you use multi-factor authentication for any accounts that you log into remotely. So if you have to log into your computers from home, then you want to have an extra code besides just your username and password.
I know we've been hearing this, not really election related, but on the state level, things getting hacked within the state. I mean, is this something that I think a lot of people are surprised to hear this, but it sounds like it's something you've seen coming.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is an arms race between organized crime and business trying to protect themselves. And sometimes the organized crime folks get ahead of the business people. So
you mentioned it briefly about having a couple of layers of security, but for the person at home, you know, we always hear that don't make your password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What other things can people do?
Yeah, so one of the most important things that people can do is to make sure that they don't reuse their password. So if you have a password for your banking application and a password for your movie website, make sure they're not the same thing.
So guilty of that one.
Yeah, everybody is, right, unfortunately. Okay. We have to get better at that, because if your movie website gets hacked and it's the same password as your banking website, well, there may be a problem there.
Okay, so that's tip number one, right? What else can people do? Should they, I know a lot of people, I'm gonna call out my mom here, she writes them all down on a piece of paper, puts them in a drawer. Is that probably a bad idea as well?
It's better than reusing the password.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
It's
even
definitely better. Down? Yep. I would say also that we want to make sure that any old technology, so things that aren't supported anymore, for example, Windows 7 just went what we call end of life, which means it's not supported anymore. You need to upgrade that.
Really?
Or replace it outright.
With the election kind of coming up, and do you foresee any problems in Louisiana, or do you, I imagine that they're talking to people like you all the time of what can they do?
You know, Louisiana is in a great position for an election, because we're a little different than most states. We have centralized funding and planning for cybersecurity risk management, and the local election authorities benefit from that, whereas some other states don't have that.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jason.
Pleasure.
We'll have that interview on our website too if you missed it, or if you want to rewatch it to make sure your passwords are nice and secure. Thanks so much.